It is a rare day indeed when we see Hollywood and its intelligentsia humiliated as badly as they have been this weekend. Snow White was already a train wreck. After the second weekend, it's like a train wreck that somehow opened up a portal to an undiscovered dimension of absolute suckage. Rachel Zegler has achieved the impossible of making the Marvels look good. Snow White is on track to drop 70% plus in its second weekend. So bad now that even Disney's critics feel sorry for Mickey Mouse. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we as ever endeavor to explain entertainment. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve is what we do, and we do it with glee. Folks, as we get ready to dive into today's very sad tale of what Disney is, suffering through and why they don't feel so well, consider clicking the like button. Now, it's not just Disney that has egg in their face, and this is a dirty, rotten egg. It's like from last Easter, not this one. It's also the Hollywood elites, the intelligentsia, the authors, the access media, the legacy media, everybody who was out there defending any part of this film or defending Zegler, they are having a very bad day. Let's start with Vanity Fair, which on March 28th, this was Friday, folks, Friday. Vanity Fair came out with an article that said Snow White's failure has turned Rachel Zegler into a scapegoat and an icon. Disney insiders are blaming the young actress for the film's poisoned box office, but their plan is backfiring. And I want to tell you, there are many people out there trying to defend Zegler, and it has everything to do with politics. We're not going to get into it, but let me tell you something. We're going to show you the numbers for this weekend, and nobody's defending anything anymore. Everybody is trying to run away from this as fast as they can. Remember this article we brought up last week, and I told you it's absolute nonsense. And I hate to do this to Anthony D'Alessandro, but it's in public view. You did something that's nonsense, and it's going to be proven now. It says Snow White and all her controversy to trip Jenna Ortega's unicorn, Jason Statham's Working Man, and more. And this was from March 26th, okay? So the idea was, well, Snow White's going to be all right. It's going to be number one at the box office. And you can see here it says, none of them will be able to put Disney's embattled Snow White to sleep with a live-action take on the Disney 1937 tune, doing hopefully around $20 million in weekend two, down only 53%. The princess, who connects with birds and Bambis, will have a hole that's on par to live-action reimaginings of old Disney tunes, Maleficent and Cinderella, both of which eased by 48%. And you'll recall that I said here on this channel, if you've been paying any attention, that was total nonsense. He just pulled it out of his hat and said, oh, here's not a rabbit, but here's some fact that there's no reason you should think that this film will perform like Cinderella. There is no reason you should think this movie will perform like Maleficent. We called it, we said it, and guess what, folks? Reality has landed. And by the way, despite the fact that so many articles, a tremendous number of articles, tried to report that exact same thing, that the movie is projected to lose only 53%. The movie is projected to lose 53%. Snow White to hold strong with 53%. No, it was always just a ridiculous guess, and I hate to do this to Anthony D'Alessandro because, well, I bet he's a nice guy, and I don't like doing this to anybody. And one day, I know it's hard to believe, but one day, I will be wrong again, just like I was with Inside Out 2. But, folks, I'm not wrong when it comes to Snow White, and here's why. From Jordan Ruami, coming out yesterday, late, Working Man debuts at number 1. Snow White has a 70% drop. And by the way, folks, congratulations to Chuck Dixon, who the Working Man movie is based off of his original source material, his work, and Working Man is based off of it. Chuck Dixon now working with Rippaverse. Frankly, folks, I got to say, it looks to me like Rippaverse came in and beat Disney. That's what it looks like to me because Chuck Dixon is over there. Anyway, I'm just putting it out there. Snow White, Rachel Zegler defeated by Chuck Dixon, who's now at the Rippaverse. I'm just saying, folks, perhaps things they are changing. 70% drop. It says Snow White is dying at the box office. No Forest friends can save her. It's come to the point where it could fall a couple of spots this weekend at the box office. Yesterday, and by the way, you know what it's going to lose to? It's going to lose to 2 episodes of The Chosen. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could. Snow White could come in third and be beaten, and I'm not trying to denigrate The Chosen. No. I'm simply saying that if your, gosh, this movie's going to cost a lot. If your $350 million production only, not marketing, princess movie, live action remake by Disney in the second weekend is defeated by 2 episodes of a streaming show, you got problems, Disney. You got princess problems. Yeah. It says yesterday the Disney Mega Bomb finished in third place and is now projected to have a 70% second weekend drop. The author here, Jordan Rumi, says, I'm starting to believe that when all is said and done, Snow White could end its run with more than $300 million in losses for Disney. Wowza. So now, ladies and gentlemen, if you will grant me the opportunity, I would like to have a wee bit of fun, if that's okay with you. Back to Anthony D'Alessandro over at Deadline. Here is the update now after Anthony had made the prediction. His prediction was carried far and wide, but how will he survive now? Here's his updated article from, again, yesterday, March 29th. Jason Statham's working man with $15 million plus, putting Snow White to sleep and sending Jenna Ortega's unicorn out to pasture. Now, I don't know what Anthony's got against Jenna Ortega. Maybe he doesn't have anything at all against her, but this is 2 articles in a row where he's trying to say this unicorn thing. Listen, folks, that's a streaming movie that they put out at the box office to get a little extra cash off the theatrics, right? The theatrical returns, that's going to make it a little extra cash. That thing's going to Max. It's going to Amazon. It's going to Apple. That's what it was made for. That's where it's going to make its money. The budget's tiny, etc. I'm not going to fool with it. I think it's silly to insult Jenna Ortega when this is, that movie was never made to be a big time blockbuster or a theatrical thing. It doesn't have a budget. Anyway, all right. Here's what his third update for the Saturday AM was. It says, on a Saturday morning before family matinees kick in, Amazon MGM Studios' A Working Man is ahead of Disney Snow White after winning Friday with $5.6 million on its way to a very solid $15.6 million opening, which isn't far from the $16.53 day that Statham's Beekeeper did last time. Okay. The $40 million Black Bear financed A Working Man based on the Chuck Dixon book series about a retired counter-terrorist agent turned construction worker. Yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. And again, congratulations to Chuck Dixon. Congratulations to Rippaverse on working with such a fine man. And yes, Chuck Dixon, if you're listening, yes, one of the walls in my studio is covered with your comics, the Robin series you did, in mint condition, covered the whole wall because it's one of the best comic runs ever, and you did a wonderful job on it. All right, so it says, currently everyone sees Snow White in number 2 at an estimated $13.7 million. Now, the fun part about this is this Deadline article, even the update, came out earlier than the article we just read from Box Office Reel, okay? So understand that it's gotten worse since this article happened. So Anthony thought it was going to be a 68% plummet. It's worse. But he says a 68% plummet for The Princess after a $3.7 million second Friday. Very sad. Well, that's because you have an emotional attachment to this. Again, it's a solid movie, but coupled with all, it is not a solid movie. It's terrible. But coupled with all the bad publicity, nobody is going, as a vet Hollywood producer loves to groan to me when movies tank. Snow White's drop is steeper than Dumbo's at 60. Makes Maleficent, Mistress of Evil's second weekend look rich at 48% decline. Currently, Snow White is ahead in hourlies, and the question is how much she wins today and Sunday to make up the difference of the Friday box office. But folks, I'm here to tell you, it's over. And you'll notice that Anthony doesn't come back and say, whoops-a-daisy, I messed this up, and kicked off a whole bunch of articles out there telling you that this was going to be a 56% drop and yada, yada, yada. You get the idea, right? Okay. And I'm giving Anthony a bit of a hard time only because it was put out there in the public exactly how he came up with the numbers, and you looked at it and said, oh, come on. All right, so let's look at something else, folks. Here we go. One last thing. Of course, Snow White, this is a disaster, but The Marvels, right? The Marvels was a disaster. And The Marvels was such a disaster that if any of the characters on the poster there, okay, any of those characters, if they're going to be in Avengers Doomsday, we don't know about it because they're not announcing it. And that gives you something to think about. The fact that they may actually be hiding, announcing any of those characters. And we love him on Vellani, right? Okay. So the Marvels, let's go down here and look how it performed. Okay. So the Marvels picked up 46.1 in its first domestic weekend, right? Okay. So what if we compare that? What if we compare that to Snow White? Can we do that, folks? All right, let's go here. All right, so if we go to the first weekend, we got 42 for Snow White. So again, I want you to see 46 for the Marvels, and we have 42 million for Snow White. This is where things get interesting, okay? We don't know exactly how this is going to play out yet, and we only have one weekend officially in the books for Snow White at 42. But folks, if we take a look, 46, which is more than 42, a drop of 78% put the Marvels at 10 million on its domestic second weekend. If Snow White at 42 has even, in the 70s, then this turns into a real close race for which movie did more poorly at the domestic box office. And maybe international, we got to wait to see, but Snow White right now is doing so poorly, so terribly poorly, that the Marvels may actually defeat it at the box office. It is now within the scope of possibility. And if the Marvels beats it, then the question becomes, what's the final budget? And yes, we will know the final budget to Snow White because it was filmed in the UK. And we will be able to say with some degree of confidence, which is the biggest flop in the history of cinema. And when I say that, what I'm telling you is there's a darn good chance that the Marvels is the biggest flop in terms of losses in the history of cinema. There's some debate, right? The Flash could be up there. Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny could be up there. But now, Snow White could actually defeat the Marvels and could be the biggest flop we have ever seen. And as you recognize that, as you realize that, and as you note that all the doting that the Hollywood elites did to try to defend Rachel Zegler and defend the movie and tell you it was all going to be okay, just a bunch of internet trolls, they're in the throes of absolute humiliation. And they don't like that. They don't like being humiliated. They don't like having their worldview challenged. And when we go back to articles like this, Vanity Fair, just 2 days before the numbers began to land with the second weekend, Snow White's failure has turned Rachel Zegler into a scapegoat and an icon. Disney insiders are blaming her, but their plan is backfiring. No, Chris, I'm afraid not. Reality is, she is an icon, but for every reason you would wish not to be one. And so too, unfortunately, everybody associated with this is going to have a stink on them. And it could sink many careers, because when you are attached to something that's worse than the Marvels, you have achieved something, but it's not something you want, not even in your worst dreams. Folks, that is the video for this Sunday. Hope you're having a great one. Get out there with the kids and have fun. Go change the world, make it a little bit of a better place. That would be a wonderful thing for you to do, and we would love to trace what you're up to. Drop the comments. Let us know, folks, what you think about this, as well as how things are going in your world. Things are not well in Disney's world, but maybe you're having a better day. Folks, on the way out the door, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Make sure to stop on by the Valiant Renegade YouTube channel. That's Valiant Renegade, V with, well, there's two L's in that Valiant. Don't ask why. Valiant Renegade. We'll be having a live stream tonight. Starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. And this is going to be story number 1. But there are many stories to cover. Cannot wait. All right, folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Say it ain't so. This just in. Disney lost money on another movie. Why, that can't be. I thought that John Lasseter fella over at Pixar was cranking out the latest hits, and Marvel was unstoppable, and Disney princesses were a thing, and Star Wars was a multi-billion-dollar money-making franchise.
I overheard you talking about Disney, and wanted to let you know you're really behind the ball.
If you were getting great articles from thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel, you'd actually be ahead of the culture curve and have entertainment explained.